Hi, Leo Sun and Rising. Welcome to your January 2022 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Even calling this an update, I don't know if I should have done that because we're starting a whole new year. So to me, it begins a new cycle, and we have a new moon right after the year begins, which is kind of cool. And there's a lot of energy in the sign of Capricorn during January. And for you, this is the sixth house, Leo, which is really cool because in the universal chart, this is ruled by Virgo. So they're both earth signs. And so it's going to carry that similar theme of work. And because Capricorn rules the 10th house of career. So there's like that kind of harmony there. And the sixth house can be the body, it can be how you order your time. So we could call it time management or your schedule. And a new moon here can mean a new schedule for you. Perhaps, obviously, there are different ways this might manifest, but one of the things that could happen is a new schedule. Now, let's say you're somebody who dropped out of college and you're going back in January and you're going to have a totally different type of day. Like you don't have your first class until 11 o'clock. And so you have all this free time until then. Let's say that you've been retired and you decided to go back part-time. There's just so many possibilities here. It could simply mean a new job or a new health regimen. And by the way, while we have this new moon here, of course, Pluto has been transiting Capricorn since 2008. And this is a general forecast, so how long it's been in your particular sixth house is going to be different for each person, but I'm just looking at it from a general point of view, which is that Pluto went into Capricorn in January of 2008. So in January 2022, we're talking about 13 years. Very long time. That's why it's a generational planet. And so this, Pluto being in the sixth house is already compelling you to totally, well, I shouldn't just say it for everybody, but it could be to totally transform yourself physically with health matters, diet, and movement maybe too. And we also have Venus retrograding at this point in that sixth house. So that could be like a salary negotiation, and whether it's with your current employer or if you are poised to get hired and you just haven't settled on a salary, then that might be the thing that is up in the air. On the same day that this is happening, this new moon, Mercury goes into Aquarius. And this is your opposite sign, Leo. So that's going to be in the seventh house of committed partnership, but also of legal matters. So any kind of contracts or discussions or legal summons, or, because Mercury can be that paperwork can come into question right after the new year begins. If you, regardless of what kind of situation, if you are coupled, for some of you, this may be talking to your partner about something important, or just if you've been separated from them. I don't necessarily mean because of an estrangement, but maybe if they have been living someplace else, maybe you're able to communicate with them more. Something going on that is extra communicative. Because on the 14th, Mercury goes retrograde here. So maybe negotiating something, or if it's an ex, a soon to be ex husband or wife, or something along those lines. This is where the retrograde occurs. Now, very interesting in the final 2 weeks of January, because we already had this Venus retrograde that, we bring from from December into January, and that can bring ex-loves into your life. But this is a Mercury retrograde that can also bring people from your past, maybe trying to contact you. And this is in the marriage sector. So suffice it to say, and when I say marriage, committed partnership. And that could be somebody that you have had that level of relationship contacting you, maybe you contacting them. So if there's anything with a current partner that is kind of like you're deciding to get divorced, you might be thinking about that other person. On the 17th, there's a full moon at 27 degrees of Cancer. Cancer is a sign right before you, so this is going to fall in the 12th house, Leo. Very psychic, because the 12th house is the house of the dream state, and the full moon can bring some kind of psychic revelations that can come in your dreams, or that the 12th house can be any kind of like psychic exploration. It could be something along those lines, and you are tapping into that. Also, the 12th house is a house of self-undoing, so any kind of bad habits, addictions, this can be the end of that. On the 18th, we have Uranus turning direct at 10 degrees of Taurus. This is the fixed sign that is before you, so this is going to fall in the 10th house of career. And that's an interesting development, because here we have the 6th house activity, and now we got Uranus direct. It's kind of an interesting area to have the Uranus transit in the 10th house. I think, and it's also interesting that this comes a day after that full moon. I wouldn't be surprised if some Leo people are being directed to go into professions that involve intuitive pursuits like astrology, or just psychic, Reiki, healing, things like that, because Uranus is about being off the beaten path. It's the ruler of Aquarius, so it's very unconventional. And there's also, when you have Uranus in the 10th house, there's also this kind of the 10th house can be your reputation and things like that. So there's always a possibility of some kind of sudden fame or something like that. And of course, I'm talking to Leo, and that's probably one of your greatest desires, is to be famous, or at least, I don't know about, to me, fame sounds like hell, but recognition in your particular field, at the very least. But what I'm talking about here is because Uranus can be technology, so going viral somehow. And when Uranus is retrograding, it may be more introspective and having you really reflect upon if what you're doing is really showcasing your individuality, or if you're kind of just a cog in the wheel. And now that it's direct, you can proceed. Of course, again, there's that erratic tendency with Uranus that makes things a little bit like a loose cannon, but in a positive way, because Leo is a fixed sign, and sometimes you may fear change because it's just baked into fixed signs that they like to have that sense of a consistency. And there's an inconsistency in Uranus because it's so um, eccentric. It's so like in its own zone, if you will. Also, another thing to just think about in general with Uranus in the 10th house is about using technology in the workplace, or maybe even becoming a digital nomad. And of course, these issues have been pretty universal for all people, because there was, during the initial shutdown, there was a lot of migration to computers to do work from home. And then at some point, it was back to the office place, but of course, not 100%. And so some people were holdouts, and that they enjoyed working in their jammies or what have you. On the 19th, the sun goes into your opposite sign, Aquarius, and that's the 7th house. So the focus begins to shift, not completely, but starts to, in that relationship sector. And like I said, this can also be legal matters. It's also public relations. So for you, depending on what it is that you do, this may have an important emphasis at this time, or it might be very successful. On the 24th, Mars goes into Capricorn, so Mars joins all that other energy in that 6th house. And Mars in the 6th house is like, I'm ready to get down to brass tacks. I have the physical stamina to do it. Or even like if you're doing some kind of a health thing, Mars can bring the physical side to it, where you're like, crafting an exercise program, and you've got the energy to back it up with. It's not doing something that is strenuous and you just are barely there. No, if you are working, you have the stamina to work. Leo is considered one of the signs that's a workaholic. So this may just be, for whatever reason, if this is a new job and that's what's required of you, or if it's where you currently are, maybe you're getting a raise, but you also have to work longer hours. The next day, Mercury goes into Capricorn, but it's actually, because it's retrograding, it's dipping back. It started out in Aquarius when it went retrograde. Now it's going in that 6th house. So you got so much going on. Mercury retrograding into the 6th, yeah, I mean, that could be negotiation back and forth. Also, you reflecting within about work matters. And again, time management may creep into this, because this can be your schedule, and you might be saying, is this something that gives me enough time to do other things in life? Work isn't the only thing in life. And so you're just kind of thinking about these things and deciding what is the sweet spot of how much money do I need to live? How much time am I willing to give? On the 29th, Venus goes direct at 11 degrees of Capricorn. So you're starting to resolve these issues. But Venus does not get out of her shadow until like early March. So there is going to be a lingering of Venus in this area. And that's very significant. Also, Venus in the 6th house can be a lover that you meet through work. And this might have been somebody from the past who comes back into your office. So that could be quite interesting if this is somebody you've already had a dalliance with. Okay, that's what I have for you, Leo. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Thanks for listening. Take care.